been a long saga here. It's starting maybe more than 10 years ago when we started talking about succession for Bob Iger, and they had a nice plan set up, a very clear plan. They had two leading candidates, both well regarded by Wall Street. Either one would have been acceptable. And just when it was time for Bob Iger to make a choice, he's decided, no, I'm going to stay here. And so both of those executives eventually left the company. And then we started all over again. And years later, another succession plan came to shape, and Bob Chapek, who ran the parks at that time, was anointed CEO, and Bob stepped away, kept his chairman role, but he didn't really go away. And then we had the pandemic and all the challenges associated with that. A lot of companies struggled, including Disney, and Bob Iger effectively came back and replaced Mr. Chapek, who then left. So another second failed succession cycle there. This cycle, again, they brought in Mr. Gorman, the former CEO of Morgan Stanley, as a board member, and his task was really to run a successful succession plan for Bob Iger, and 2 years later, here we are. And so now we've got Josh D'Amaro, who has been with the company for 28 years.
Right.
So certainly a veteran of the company, steeped in all its tradition. But he ran the parks, and that is the biggest profit generator for this company today.
Well,
and it's likely to be for some time. So
I want to talk to you about that. I think it's really important. At 9:30 this morning, in 1 hour, our Ed Ludlow in San Francisco in conversation with Mr. Gorman of Morgan Stanley. I'm of the amateur camp, Paul Sweeney, where I look at Burbank and the movies, the heritage, Cinderella. And I go, the parks are secondary. And you have pushed back against me, always with Sweeney politeness, and said, no, you stupid idiot, the parks matter. Is there a stigma to running the parks at Disney versus something fancy like dealing with the latest, streaming success?
Right. Or the latest Hollywood blockbuster? The other parts of the company? The answer is no. And the answer would have been as recently as 10 or 12 years ago, yes. Because this was a big media company. It was ESPN.
ABC, where Iger came from.
ESPN was the biggest profit generator. The movie studios were just crushing it. They're making these big acquisitions of Marvel and all that kind of stuff. And then they bought a lot of the Fox assets and got that studio. So it is still the best content creator on the planet, in my opinion. That is great. And nobody monetizes their content better than the Walt Disney Company, I would argue. But the reality is, when you look at their income statement and their cash flow statement, most of the income and cash flow comes now from their parks, from their cruise ships, that whole side of the business. And that's primarily because that business grows high single digit, low double digit in profits every single year. And it's done that for such a long cycle.
The persistency of cash flows when they, folks, I've never been to, can you believe it? I've never been to Orlando. Sai, have you been to Orlando? Not a long time. You go like 4 times a year. They fleece you.
Nobody does a better job of
making
money off of people than the Walt Disney Company, and they do it all over the world now. They have parks in Shanghai. That was a $5 billion investment in China when, not a lot of people were investing in mainland China in fixed assets. Disney did that, and it's been a great success. So they've got an extraordinary company, and Bob Iger's done a great job. Shareholders up and down the aisle would swear to Bob Iger that he's done just an extraordinary job. But maybe it's time for some change.